victim in this case was Kristin Page Dayel. She was 20 years old, Calgary, Mount Royal College exchange student, killed April 23, 2004, in Zapopan, Guadalajara, Jalisco, alongside Cesar Augusto Pulido Mendoza. Killings abroad go unsolved. More than 250 Canadians have been slain abroad in the past 7 years, documents obtained by Toronto Star show. The cases are spread across the globe, with the majority occurring in the United States and sunny vacation destinations such as Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, according to information released by Canada's Foreign Affairs Department under access to information legislation. Many of these cases remain open without charges. The United States tops the list with at least 56 killings. Mexico and Caribbean countries come second with a combined total of at least 47 in the 2000 to 2006 time period. You see, these other countries are going to tell you the truth. All right, they tell you that the United States is numero uno. The United States would have put the blame and said Mexico's number one for fucking up. Killings in Central American countries, India, China, Russia, the Philippines, Thailand, and elsewhere round out the list. The cases range from slayings of Woodbridge's Dominique and Nancy Ianiro in Mexico last February to that of Dr. Asha Goel of Orangeville, whose family believes 4 men were hired to kill her during a visit to India in August 2003 in a dispute over a family inheritance. Boy, that's when the shit gets ugly, man. Family going after that dead man's money. Oh shit, boy. Family. That shit turns into bloodthirst. Added to the list will be the Woodbridge teen Adam DePrisco, who died last Monday after visiting a popular nightclub. There's a common denominator. Victims' families say the Canadian government could do a much better job representing their interests abroad. It would be nice to feel that the Canadian government had your back when something like this happens. We felt let down, said Calgary's Cher Ewing, whose daughter, Kristin Dayel, 20, was killed outside a Guadalajara nightclub in 2004. Ewing believes Mexican authorities botched the investigation and allowed the killers to go free. She said Canada's Foreign Affairs Department should advocate for victims' families overseas and closely watch cases such as her daughter's. Instead, she said they get scant information from Foreign Affairs, which waits to get reports sent to them by consular officials. Ewing said she learned the men believed responsible for her daughter's slaying were being held and questioned on suspicion of murder, kidnapping, and illegal gun possession. Ewing contacted Foreign Affairs in Ottawa. We were told that the Canadian government wouldn't interfere in a foreign country's policy or procedures. Okay, this has no mention of Ivan Archivaldo, and it says whoever they had in custody, they had somebody in custody. If they had somebody in custody, then what? Are we accusing, or is the world allegedly accusing Ivan of being the one that said do that shit? Contemporary reports say Jalisco authorities accused Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar in the double homicide, but the case ultimately remained unresolved and unsolved. The reported location was outside the Bali Bar in Zapopan, Jalisco. The reported motive version is Ivan allegedly approached or argued over Kristin. Cesar defended her. The confrontation escalated after leaving the bar. This version is repeated by later reporting and Mini Lic's interview with Annabelle Hernandez in Milenio. Defense claim at the time, lawyer Jesus Dueña said Ivan had been badly injured in a December 2003 car crash, was in a wheelchair, and could not have fired a weapon. Was he in the club in a wheelchair? Is that part of the story? Kristin's mother, Cher Ewing, later said Mexican authorities botched the investigation and that Canada did not advocate strongly enough for families of Canadians killed abroad. Guadalajara, Jalisco, June 30th, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, could be transferred to the Puente Grande Federal Prison in Jalisco after the 6th District Court issued an arrest warrant against him for the murder of a Canadian student and a young man from Jalisco last year. According to the case file, El Chapito and several of his friends were involved in a dispute over two foreign women at a bar located in Plaza Amistad. Over two foreign women in Zapopan on April 23, 2004. This led to a group headed by Guzman Salazar shooting at those who were taking the Canadian students away. Kristin Page Dayel and Cesar Augusto Pulido Mendoza died in the attack. According to Jorge Humberto Bucios, the lawyer defending El Chapo Guzman's son, although federal and state authorities have spoken out against transferring El Chapito to Jalisco. The fuck you mean transferring him? Was he locked up at the time? Oh, this is 2005. Failing to comply with the arrest warrant would be considered an abuse of power. Wait a minute, I'm confused. Was he locked up at the time? Oh, from February 2005 until he was released in 2008. So eventually they dropped the charges against him on this. Well, you know how they dropped the charges on him for this. That sounds so stupid. That girl died for nothing. What if this girl goes to the club? I don't know if she knew the other dude. I don't know if the other dude knew who he was fucking with. But she go out, got nothing to do with nothing, minding her business, having a good time, and next thing you know, she got this egotistical junior cartel leader ending her life. It's fucking ridiculous. The son of El Chapo accused of assassinating a Canadian woman and her companion, says attorney Jesus Dueñas. The authorities in the state of Jalisco accuse Ivan Archivaldo, 21 years old, of killing by shooting Canadian Kristin Page Dayel and Mexican Cesar Augusto Pulido in front of a bar in the city of Zapopan in April 2004. Dueñas assures us that his client was in a wheelchair at that time and was not able to use a firearm. Was he at the club at all? Was he in a fucking wheelchair? Guzman was badly hurt in an auto accident in December 2003 where a friend of his was killed. Oh, the irony. Guzman finds himself at La Palma prison for money laundering. His father escaped from a prison in Jalisco in 2001 and instigated a large fight for control of narco trafficking that has left hundreds, well, we could say thousands at this point, dead in the confrontation with the United States. Wow. A judge stepped down from this whole situation here. Federal judge declares himself incompetent to judge El Chapo Guzman's son. In 2 years, his defenders had discredited the main charges against him. Alfredo Mendez. A federal judge declared herself incompetent to judge Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, El Chapito, 21, accused of shooting and killing Canadian Kristin Page Dayel and Mexican Cesar Augusto Pulido in front of a bar in the city of Zapopan in April 2004. The head of the First District Court based at the North Prison, Silvia Carrasco, determined that the homicide crime for which the son of El Chapo is currently detained is of common law, and therefore it is the jurisdiction of a local judge based in Jalisco and not the federal court. She said, this is not for me. Send this shit back over there. Why you send this shit to me? I don't want this. It's got nothing to do with me. According to judicial sources, the judge's ruling opens the door for the defendant's lawyer to argue that there are no longer jurisdictional reasons to keep Guzman Salazar imprisoned in the federal penitentiary. Send him to the state so he could build a tunnel. Furthermore, the informants added the judge indicated in her ruling that it is not justified for I saw that shit. For El Guzman's son. You see they keep saying his name? That's all for search engine optimization. That's all for clicks. They don't say Ivan Archivaldo because nobody knows Ivan Archivaldo. They know El Chapo. They keep repeating it. No reason for him to remain incarcerated at the Altiplano maximum security prison located in the state of Mexico. However, the judge clarified that it will be the local judge who will admit jurisdiction to handle the homicide case and decide what is the appropriate and safe place for the accused to be held. In other words, in her ruling, the federal judge left jurisdictional freedom to the judge who takes the case in the state. so that he can determine if there are sufficient security conditions for Guzman Salazar to be transferred from Altiplano to another less security located in Jalisco. Since May 2005, the son of the drug lord who heads the Sinaloa Cartel, SEO, has been held in a federal prison after having spent several days in a jail in the federal district. Guzman Salazar's brief stay at the Reclusorio Preventivo Sur, administered by Mexican city authorities, ended with a massive security operation launched that month by the Federal Investigation Agency and the Federal Preventive Police to transfer the accused to the state of Mexico. Over more than 2 years of litigation in federal courts, El Chapito's lawyer managed to legally discredit all the criminal charges brought against him by the Attorney General's office, including money laundering, concealment, and organized crime. So now he only has a pending homicide charge brought against him by the Ministerial Authority of Jalisco. Money, 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 money. Money. Money, 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 money.
Millions.
Money, 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 money. Who'd they pay? Remember, didn't they pay a president or some shit? Get him out of there? He didn't like jail, remember? In the coming days, one of the judges of the common jurisdiction of Jalisco will notify the First District Court of the North Prison if it accepts the jurisdiction of the case to continue with the process against Guzman Salazar. El Chapito's lawyer, Jesus Dueñas, has stated on several occasions that he has evidence that his client was using a wheelchair when the murders he is accused of occurred, and that he is supposedly incapable of using a firearm. But the lawyer's not saying, and he was not there the night of the incident. Probably had witnesses if it's outside a club. And here's the thing. At least somebody could tell me if the motherfucker was there or not. Was he what? He was spinning in the wheelchair and shit? What are we talking about? But again, he got a doctor's note, man. Money, 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 money.
Millions.
This is crazy. El Chapito, with no outstanding legal issues. Villahermosa, Tabasco, April 18th. Like the Attorney General's office, the authorities in Jalisco were also unable to prove that Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, had committed any crime. And they did not prove that he participated in the murder of 2 people in Zapopan, Jalisco, in April 2004. Therefore, he has been completely free since April 11th. The Attorney General of Jalisco, Tomás Olmos, interviewed during the 20th National Conference of Attorney Generals, stated that regarding the homicide charges in the common jurisdiction, at the time he was arrested, the arrest warrant was executed, and the judge in the case considered that there was not enough evidence to indict him. It should be remembered that at the time, the PGR through the Specialized Organized Crime Investigation Unit, as well as the Attorney General's Office of the State of Jalisco, had preliminary investigations in which Ivan Archivaldo Guzman was allegedly linked to various homicides. In the investigations, Guzman Salazar was accused of the murders of Cesar Augusto Pulido Mendoza and the Canadian Kristin Page Dayel, which occurred in the early morning of April 23, 2004, outside the bar called Bolivar in Zapopan, Jalisco, as well as the murder of 2 people in February 2006 for an apparent drug debt in Texas, in the United States.
Coño, man.
However, since April 11th, El Chapo Guzman's son has regained his freedom. In that context, the Jalisco Attorney General stated that there is nothing pending against Ivan Archivaldo Guzman right now. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, man. Go get your fucking
Go home
shine
and
box.
get your fucking shine box.
He was in a fucking wheelchair, bro. Mind your business. It's just crazy. In December 2003, a car accident in Culiacan changed Ivan. It happened in Culiacan as I was leaving a nightclub. I was drunk, drag racing another car. Yeah, because you own the fucking street. On a bridge. I crashed into the back of a flatbed truck. I was going at high speed. I was trapped inside. My companion, a man, died. Ivan almost died. He was trapped. His father was already a fugitive. He was very worried and immediately arranged for him to be flown to Guadalajara. There he received medical attention and they had to put plates and nails in his leg. He almost lost his leg. He underwent several surgeries, but was left with a noticeable limp due to the damaged leg. In 2004, he murdered a young Canadian woman. That's Mini Lic's words. In 2004, he murdered a young Canadian woman who rejected him at the Bali bar in Zapopan. That's when Ivan went to a bar and had an altercation with a young man who was with a young Canadian woman. They exchanged words because Ivan tried to approach the woman and her companion defended her. They argued, and when they left the bar, they started arguing. They were about to come to blows, but Ivan and his companions pulled out guns and shot the young men, killing them. Bitch shit. That was some bitch shit. The victims were Kristin Page Dayel and the Mexican Cesar Augusto Pulido. For the double homicide, the now leader of Los Chapitos was arrested in 2005 and imprisoned in the maximum security prison in Almoloya, state of Mexico. This event significantly impacted his personality. Do you know what Ivan's time in prison was like? A lot of suffering. I have friends who were with him, prisoners in the same cell block, and they said he didn't go a night without crying, sobbing all night, and there was a lot of suffering because Ivan was very afraid. His uncle Arturo Guzman had been killed in prison. That's at Pollo. So he was afraid that his father's enemies, Osiel Caldenas and the Arellano Felix brothers, would kill him too. Ivan's leg was literally rotting away in prison. In fact, they were about to amputate it. He needed surgery and refused. The lawyer told us that Ivan didn't want the operation, said that he was afraid because he said that if they took him out for surgery, they were going to kill him, and that he preferred to have his leg amputated. In the end, only Lopez Nunez, el licenciado, was able to convince him to have the surgery and save his leg. It was in prison that Ivan indirectly began his involvement in drug trafficking. To my knowledge, he was already receiving direct profits from drug trafficking while he was in prison because his father would give drugs to Alfredo and tell them that half was for him and the other half was the profit should be kept for his brother. So that's how they said about the girl. That's some whole shit if that's how it happened. And imagine this. She's a girl out there traveling in Mexico, partying, just meets a guy for the first time. They talking, they're having a good time. Drunk Goofy Jr. come over there with all his power in his pocket, talking crazy. Dude steps up now. We talking right now. Boom, shit gets crazy and they both die. Just bullshit, man.
Bullshit.
Straight bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Femicides within the Sinaloa Cartel. That shouldn't even be a fucking word, bro. Just like pedophilia. Femicide. Listen, throw them all in the same fucking hole, man. Any of you people that cheerlead for these motherfuckers, you chum in the water, man. People would eat you. These people need to be all in the same hole. Femicides. Pedophiles. Rapists. All of that shit. Same hole. Femicides within the Sinaloa Cartel the day Ivan Archivaldo murdered a woman for rejecting him. Before becoming the leader of the most powerful faction in the Sinaloa Cartel, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman, also known as El Chapito, was arrested by Mexican authorities. However, his arrest was not related to drug trafficking, but rather to the murder of a Canadian woman who rejected him at a bar in Jalisco. His father spent however much to get him out of fucking jail for him doing some stupid shit like that. These are dishonorable men, man. The event took place in the early hours of Friday, April 23, 2004, when Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's son was 21 years old at the time, and according to Damaso Lopez Serrano, a former member of the Sinaloa Cartel and former associate of Los Chapitos, Ivan Archivaldo enjoyed a life of luxury and parties. He used to go out to nightclubs, to livestock fair. He was quite the ladies' man. And Mini Lic recounted in an interview with Anabel Hernandez in collaboration with Milenio. According to the revelations of Mini Lic, both Ivan Archivaldo and his brother Jesus Alfredo, alias El Alfredillo, lived part of their lives in Jalisco, unlike their half-brothers Ovidio and Joaquin Lopez, who settled for time in Mexico City. It was in that state where, after a night of fun, El Chapito participated in the murder of Kristin Page Dayel, a 20-year-old Canadian woman, and the Mexican Cesar Augusto Pulido, 23. Babies. Almost a year after the events, Ivan Archivaldo was arrested and taken to the Altiplano prison where months earlier his uncle Arturo Guzman Loera was murdered. Ain't no gangster shit in that image, right? That's terrified. Lopez Serrano explained to the Mexican journalist that the femicide of the young woman and the murder of the companion happened outside the Bali bar established in Zapopan, Jalisco. It so happened that Ivan went to a bar and had an altercation with a young man who was accompanying a young Canadian woman. They exchanged words because Ivan tried to make a move on the woman. Her companion defended her. We heard this. They argued, and when they left the bar, they started arguing. They were about to come to blows, but Ivan and the person he was with pulled out weapons and shot the young men, killing them, he explained. However, according to the Globe and Mail, the two victims were in a pickup truck at the time of the incident. The shots were reportedly fired from the car in which Ivan Archivaldo and his companions were traveling. So the two stories differ. Mini Lic story differs, and the Globe and the Mail stories differ. Shout out TJ. Juniors in Culiacan was like that back then. Maestro Flaco would burn homeless people after the clubs. They don't have no... That's not gangster to me. You can't give a lame power. That's what happens when you give a lame fuck power. So the stories differ. In Mini Lic's story, they were about to come to blows. In the Globe and the Mail, the two victims of the incident were in a car and shot from Ivan Archivaldo's car. There she is. Pretty girl. According to local media in Canada, her mother, Sherry Ewing, was in Mexico visiting her daughter, who was part of an international exchange program, but did not go with her to the bar. Fuck.
Coño, man.
Shout out TJ. Hell no, that ain't gangster. That's why I don't understand these people that cheerlead these fucking dorks. This is good against evil. Consider good what you want to call it. Evil is evil. There's no mistaking it. Information shared by the young woman's family with the McInnes and Holloway Funeral Home located in Calgary, Alberta indicates that Kristin enjoys soccer, dancing, painting, theater, and music. She was a sophomore in the business program at Mount Royal College. Her body was transported with the support of Canadian authorities to her place of origin, where she was bid farewell by her parents, her two brothers, other relatives, and friends. The arrest of Ivan Archivaldo, an event that marked his life 10 months after the deaths of the two young men, or the man and the woman. The translation probably got that off. On February 13, Ivan Archivaldo was arrested in an operation carried out in Zapopan. He was immediately transferred to social rehabilitation at La Palma. At first, he was only accused of the murder of Page Dayel and Augusto Polido, but months later, the Attorney General's office brought charges against him for money laundering and for his alleged participation in a criminal organization, the Sinaloa Cartel, and they couldn't lock that down. Why? Million. They called Genaro Garcia Luna, and when he answered the phone, all he heard was
Amigo.
And that was it.
Millions.
However, in 2008, El Chapito was released after a judge determined there was insufficient evidence against him, and El Chapo's son returned to Culiacan. From that year on, everything changed. His entry into the Sinaloa cartel was imminent. Regarding the murder of the young people in Zapopan, Page Dayel's mother asserted that the case was riddled with corruption, as nurses and doctors, as well as the legal defense, claimed that Ivan Archivaldo was not in Mexico at the time of the event. So you can look at Ivan Archivaldo's wheelchair story. Now, they say he had surgeries, right? But if you're telling me, to me, it seems very cut and dry. If you're telling me that he's in a wheelchair, was he or was he not at the club? Was he standing on his own 2 feet? That's the question. And the defense claimed that Ivan was not in Mexico at the time of the events. Damn. And here's the sad part. If he didn't do it, they didn't give a fuck who else did, because they didn't find nobody else. So there's only one of two reasons. They didn't look, or he did that shit. This is because in 2003, El Chapo suffered a serious car accident in which he almost lost his life. His lawyer at the time, Jesus Dueñas, stated in 2005 that his client was in a wheelchair and unable to use a firearm. Ivan Archivaldo is currently wanted by U.S. authorities who are offering a $10 million reward. It's probably been up since then. His brother, Jesus Alfredo, also has a reward of the same amount, $10 million. All right, that's the first I hear somebody say that Alfredillo was the violent one. That's a thread to pull on. I think we got to the bottom of it, man. And the bottom of it is a big bowl of shit. The bottom of it is a 20-year-old girl that went to enjoy a little bit of time, you know, evidently sound like she worked hard, studying business, had loving family that came to Mexico to visit her. She stepped out to go have a drink with a homeboy, maybe a classmate. Meanwhile, there's a spoiled wolf around. And the shit goes left. And neither one of them get to see the rest of their life. Shout out Sam. Yes, Oakland has said that supposedly Alfredillo is the more violent than Ivan. Coño, man.
Coño, man.
But that's the answer. The answer is he got away with all the other shit they charged him with, right? He got straight out of jail. That's the story. The Globe and the Mail, their story is that All of that happened in the club, and then outside, Kristin and Cesar were in the car, in the truck, and bullets rang out from Ivan Archivaldo's car and took their life. Mini Lic's story is that they got into it in the club, they went outside, they almost came to blows, and shit went left, and they smoked everybody. That shit ain't gangster to me, man. None of that shit. He probably felt his ego bruised, and boom. That's how they move. That's why they fight with each other.